You're live.
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P and Reese back again. So Reese, we're gonna get ready to talk about our second controversy tonight that went on in the last couple of weeks. Now, this is Gille versus Rick Ross, and um, again, it's been a debate on both sides as to who was right or who was wrong. Was Rick Ross out of line for jumping in the business of really a cash money situation, cash money record situation. But I'm just going to ask your opinion about it. So basically, the way that the story started is that Rick Ross is doing an interview for a magazine, and the topic came up about a situation for Cash Money Records. Um, and he asked them about what do you think about the situation with Birdman, Gilly, Lil Wayne, and Mac Main came up. And Rick Ross answered that situation. He said, well, I don't really give a fuck because Gilly's a fraud. And he basically called him a fraud for no reason or whatever. So off of that, you know, Gilly went off in this long video about Rick Ross, and you could play it, man.
Listen, man.
Hold on real quick.
This one time.
Hold on.
I'm only gonna tell you this one time.
Ross, you better stop fucking playing with me, man. You hear me? And mind your fucking business, man. Because you went on a nigga Instagram page commenting about me, calling me out my name, my nigga, for no motherfucking reason at all. This how this shit started. So I'm gonna tell you again, man, leave me the fuck alone, man. I see your little funky ass video. I spend more money on my cow's hooves than you spend on your wife. You probably right, nigga. Cause I ain't bought her, I caught her, nigga. She fuck with me because who I'm blessed to be, not because I bless her with a fee. But ain't you the nigga that said, I put Molly all in that drink and she ain't even know it? Goddamn Ricky Raper, bitch. Huh? Stop talking about money, man. Cause money don't unlame a lame, nigga. There's a lot of sucker-ass niggas out here with money and you on the list. Matter of fact, you the captain of the Suckers with Money Association of America, nigga. And we ain't impressed. So mind your business. Because that's your problem. You're always minding niggas' business. You was minding Birdman business some years back when you was running around talking about, give Khaled the money you owe him. Well, you give Meek the money you owe him, nigga. Because you got him in a 1914 slave deal. A Harriet Tubman joint that he signed when he was 19 and now he 35. I thought you said a boss is one that guarantee we gon' eat. Well, why you ain't renegotiating with a real nigga? Thank God he fucking with them white boys. He fuck around, be broke, busted, and disgusted fucking with you. He's a hell of a businessman, though. Salute to you, Meek. But stop talking about money, man. And stop pushing that Bel Air on niggas, because they don't drink that shit no more. I got the ice electric blue bottle, and I got the lime green bottle that float in the air like Aladdin's carpet. We don't give a fuck. We don't want it, man. Niggas don't drink that shit, man. And slow up on them goddamn lemon peppers, because you're about a 6-piece away from a heart attack, nigga. Leave me the fuck alone. I'm telling you, this ain't what you want like Lil Durk first single, nigga. You better leave me alone. And one thing about me, I'm not no hater. I salute you. Your crib is immaculate, nigga. I'm talking about your crib is one of one, nigga. Unbelievable. But the whole Atlanta know you live dead smack in the hood, nigga. Right off Old National. 2 blocks away from the blackest Walmart in the state. You ain't had a good night's sleep since you moved in that motherfucker. You know how them niggas in Atlanta breaking houses. You worrying about them niggas jumping your wall every night, nigga. And I get that raggedy ass cow to Labor Day before them niggas hop the wall and steal that motherfucker. Be riding all that Old National. Beef ribs for the hood. Fuck is wrong with you, man? Leave me the fuck alone, man. I'm not the nigga that you want to play with, Ross. You hear me? You CEO / drug dealer kingpin. Remember, we was on the same record label together, Teflon. Remember that? When you used to go to work, you tell niggas, lock it in. Then you come home, you change your uniform, you put your hat on backwards, and then you go in the studio and be a drug dealer, kingpin rapper? Oh. Leave me the fuck alone, man. This ain't what you want.
All
Okay, that's
right.
that. Just to
Yeah.
add a little bit of context to that, Rick Ross made a statement about Gilly and his wife, saying that he spends more money on his cows' hooves. If you don't know, Rick Ross has a farm and he has a lot of cows on it. He spends more money on his cows' hooves than Gilly spends on his wife and his kids or what have you. And that's why he was referring to his wife to get the full context of it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack with this one, Reese. First, I want to go back to the beginning about, and Gilly brought it up about a situation with stay out of my business, the business with Mac Main and me and Cash Money. You better mind your business. I mean, because you same thing about Meek Mill, which I'm also going to get to. We got him in a slave deal because I also did the research on that. So a few years back, Rick Ross did a song, "May Your Idols Become Your Rivals," because he had issues with Baby because Baby at that time, remember they were going through a very difficult period with Lil Wayne because he was basically in Lil Wayne was in a deal. It was in like a P Diddy and a Locks deal. He was killing Lil Wayne. And Lil Wayne at that time, I think he just did a jail stint, what have you, and he was coming home, and Birdman was basically raping his artists for all intents and purposes. So Rick Ross picked a side with that. Rick Ross picked a side with Lil Wayne, who was his homie at that time and still is his homie. And to fast forward to the comment in on Instagram about what you think about that situation with Mac Main and Gilly and Lil Wayne, that's kind of the where Rick Ross is coming from, saying fuck Gilly, because Rick Ross has bad blood towards Cash Money and Cash Money Records. Now, obviously, Gilly is taking the side of Cash Money. He's still, he who was on Cash Money Records. I mean, the rumor was he was alleged ghostwriter for Lil Wayne. So that's where that story goes into. Um, so basically, my take on all of this is basically a petty personal beef getting blown out of proportion on the internet. You know, there's still more to talk about, but Reese, I got to get your take on it.
Um. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know Rick Ross called them a fraud. I thought it was something else. But my question is, why did Rick Ross call him a fraud?
Well, I just gave you the context
Yeah.
about that, about the issue with Cash Money, how he feels towards that record label because he's homies with Wayne. Wayne is
Yeah.
his homie,
So
and he
okay.
took
So all
Wayne.
right. So
You
he
see
took
what I
Wayne's
mean?
side. Yeah. All right. So
And remember, not to cut you off, remember Gilly was the one saying, "Yo, I wrote for Lil Wayne and
yeah,
trying to
yeah, yeah,
expose Lil Wayne." Remember that when
yeah.
he tried to expose Lil Wayne when Lil Wayne was
So
blowing
he was
up.
asked.
So
So Ross was asked a question, and his response was, he said, "Well, how you feel about the whole Cash Money, blah 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 blah?" And his response was,
Gilly's a fraud.
this person, and Gilly's a fraud." So he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I ain't like this person. I don't like this person. He's cool, and Gilly's a
Well, he
fraud."
basically said he led off with Gilly is a fraud.
So was Gilly the last person mentioned?
I didn't know the full, all the rest of that, but
Yeah,
it was just brought up in that Instagram comment. It was a comment, not
yeah.
like,
Oh, it was a comment.
yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, all right. So now it's all right. Um,
But now you got the backstory
yeah,
with the bad blood between
yeah.
him and Cash Money. So there's context to it now.
I think that Gilly has a point with this when it comes to this one, because not everything Gilly said, but he has a point with who started it. I think that Ross could have just kept that to himself, or he could have said something else. Like, well, I really don't fuck with Gilly like that. But to call a man a fraud, that's a big deal. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? That's a very big deal because you basically putting that man out there like that, and you got to have proof of that. You know what I'm saying? Now again,
But okay, can I stop you for a minute
yeah.
though? All right. Let me play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Because I agree, this was something personal. This is definitely personal. This goes back a ways. Gilly even mentioned they kind of had affiliation. They worked together. They've been each other way before in the early days or what have you. But let me play devil's advocate, and this kind of ties into the Lil Wayne Ghost Rider stuff. Was Gilly right for that, or was Gilly trying to clout chase back then and to expose Lil Wayne? And basically, now I don't know what it was because this is kind of a different conversation about the ghost riding with Lil Wayne and all of that and what he did. But I thought Gilly was very disingenuous with that. You know what I mean? Because I thought you were trying to get off of the back of a superstar at that time and expose and tear him down to get your name out of there, right? So let me play devil's advocate. What if Rick Ross feels a way about that? Why you try to expose my man? I'm here for Lil Wayne because obviously he has feelings about that situation because he blew up on Baby and Cash Money and exposed them on Idols Became Your Rivals. So is Rick Ross right to feel a way about that?
What you saying is, uh, yeah, all right. So to
Is
answer
he
your
is he
question,
right to feel about that and feel that way about Gilly saying, you know what, that nigga's a fraud, man. Like he had no right to come out and say that shit back then. Blah blah blah. Whatever.
I could see why you would say that. I definitely
Yeah.
could see why you would say that. Now, to answer your first question, the whole thing what happened with Gilly, and I don't want to go too deep into that, but and it's not to throw him any lifelines, but he never said he wrote for Lil Wayne. The media twisted that. Everybody twisted that. He clearly said, if you watch the interview, he said, I didn't write for him. I just told him how to say the raps. That's what he said. Now,
Okay.
that could still be disrespectful in whatever we're talking about. Because it doesn't matter if you tell somebody how to say a rap and writing a rap, and some people can twist it and say, "Oh, he wrote his raps." That's all it takes is one person. So, okay, I understand that. Now, as far as Rick Ross saying he's a fraud, I need to understand. Even though you told me what you said about him, I just need to understand why would he go to him first and say he's a fraud instead of saying something about somebody else? So he must feel some type of way, like you said, about Gilly. He must feel some type of way. He has to, because if the first person he thought of out of all of them was Gilly, then he has a big problem with Gilly. Because Gilly is nothing.
And that's right.
He's
And
nothing compared to Baby and all the rest of them that ran Cash Money. Gilly didn't do anything for Cash Money. Like, he did
yeah,
some things, but he ain't the top guy. So if he went to the lowest guy, then there's something else going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
yeah.
So I,
Which is
so
which
I
is
would
why I
say,
think
yeah.
it's a personal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, no,
definitely
no,
a
I agree
personal.
with that. I think it. So to answer your question, I think that you right on that point when you say was he right about that for calling them out? Was Gilly what Gilly did back in the day? I think that was a suspect move too. When you come out, like, what's the point of you saying that? There's no point for that. Wayne didn't come out. Did Wayne do anything to you for you to come out and say, yeah, yeah, I didn't write his raps, but I told him how to say it because he was a cornball. He was a clown. You know what I'm saying? And I had him rocking my chain. You see, look in the video, he rocking my chain. Like, and that's when people were saying, well, if you wrote all his hits, that's when he came out and said, I didn't write none of his hits. I didn't write a hit for him. What I did was I told him, I
But he
said,
basically insinuated
yeah,
back then, and I remember he did like a whole media tour.
yeah,
Kind of, he was going on the radio. He basically tried to insinuate I made Lil Wayne,
yeah,
I
yeah,
made him
yeah,
have swag,
yeah,
all of that. So, and I'm not putting thought in Rick Ross's head, but he kind of does have a justification to call him a fraud,
Yeah.
you know, because
Yeah.
if he has an affiliation with Wayne.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to say I'm not in his head, but and obviously Rick Ross, if we're going to connect the dots, has issues against that Cash Money team, Baby, and all of them. Going back, he wouldn't have made a diss song at
Yeah.
like Idols Became the Rivals if he didn't.
Yeah.
And obviously the back and forth on Instagram, Rick Ross making videos saying I'm gonna get my own podcast now to kind of shit on he's
Yeah.
being like a sarcastic backhand.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna get my own podcast now just to shit on this
Yeah.
dude. This got personal. This got
Yeah.
below the belt. That video right there is very, very personal.
Yeah.
That get back to Rick Ross.
He also said Ross also said something about Banks too. I know that's a little bit off topic, but he said something recently about Banks. He was like,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, he did. He talked about his album. He said, tell Banks I'm going to cop his new album and listen to it.
Oh, as a shot back to 50, right?
Yeah. And then he said
Oh,
something
okay.
else about his album too. He said something else about
Didn't he? Wait, I thought it was another album. He said he was going to sign him to MMG or something like that. like almost like to kind of throw it in the face of 50, like
yeah.
what you did. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. Now
Yeah.
as far as a couple other things that Gilly said, I guess I want to get into. Um the whole CEO thing, but I don't want to talk about that yet. I want to talk about the whole Molly.
Let's save the CO for the
Yeah,
second part.
yeah. I want to talk
Let's
about the
let's
Molly
focus
part.
on the Gilly versus
The
Ross
Molly
first.
part I want to talk about. So he
Yeah.
said that he put drinks in and he didn't know it. Like my thing is like rappers say a bunch of shit all the time, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's a little bit below the belt, if you ask me. You know what I mean? If you want to highlight something like that in these times, and even though I know he had some controversy about that, I think they actually took that lyric out of the song, actually.
Yeah,
You
they
know what I'm
did.
saying? But my thing is like, that's a little bit too much. That's going a little bit too far. You know what I'm saying? Because now
This got petty, man.
yeah,
This
like
got
come on.
petty personal. You know when something's personal, but this is petty personal.
Yeah,
Cause he nitpicked.
yeah.
I want to talk about. You go ahead. I want to talk about the
But
Meek
you
thing.
but the thing is, he
Yeah.
knows that he took that out of the song. And I'm sure that there's some things that he said in his career about people and about things that he ain't proud of either.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? So for him to say that, I think that that's a little bit much. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand that you at war right now, but are you really that much? Are y'all really that much at odds that you got to say something like that? Ricky rape a bitch? Like, come on, bro. Like, let's be serious here. Like, we all know that rappers say a bunch of over hype shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I ain't throwing Rick Ross no lifeline on that one, but at the same time, come on, bro. Like, like he know the song and they took it out of the song, but you still gonna highlight it? That just lets me know that you ain't really got too much to say. You know what I'm saying? I think you're trying to hit below the belt instead of
He's
having the
trying to get. He's
conversation.
trying to get every inch of to basically roast this guy, even if it's a bit of a reach. I agree that was like a bit of a reach. But I think that the comment about Gilly's wife, I think that was below the belt too.
Yeah,
Because I always say if you guys are having a back and forth, leave the wife and kids out of it. You know,
yeah,
I don't care if it's hip hop or whatever. And I don't know what that man spends on his wife or whatever. I mean, Gilly had a nice comeback, you know what I mean, with that, but still, that was kind of like a direct shot. I'm just gonna sum it up all together, man. This got petty personal, and this is my thing. Beefs like this do nothing for hip hop. They do nothing to promote the game. I think Gilly did this as an attention seeking moment because he knew he had an opening, and he knew if I say some real smart shit about Rick Ross, I'm gonna get views out of it. I'm gonna get attention for my podcast. That's the reason why Rick Ross came back and said, "Oh, I'm gonna get a podcast now." Ha ha ha! Almost like I could do what you do, nigga. Like just cause you got a podcast don't mean shit. I could probably get double your viewership if I got a podcast. But this was petty attention, and to be honest about this, like, and I've known of Gilly in his podcast. I've only heard clips, but he has been a savage at going in and talking about petty shit about other rappers in the game. And it to the point where it comes off as, yo, you're the bitter rapper dude that never blew up. You're talking about all these other people. Now, rest assured, you're in the podcast culture. I mean, we're in the podcast culture. We know what this is about. You got to get views. But at the same time, it's like, what's the point of this? This is just petty attention horse shit. And I hate it when guys like Gilly or Joe Buttons do shit like this. Cause in the end of the day, it's just a bad look. Just my opinion. It's just a bad look for the game. It does nothing for the music. Like, in my opinion, Gilly should have been like, look, you went below the belt, Ross, and I'm gonna address that fraud situation. We need to have a one-on-one, man-to-man, face-to-face talk about that. And we're gonna do that off air. And I would have ended it. You know what I mean? That's like the man mature thing to do.
Yeah.
But doing a petty video on YouTube, a bunch of all this other kind of ancillary stuff, I don't know. It seems kind of corny, man. I don't know what your take is.
So I guess I stand on the other side of that. I do believe that he should have addressed it maybe in a different way. I don't think that if he really had a problem with Rick Ross, it shouldn't have been a public thing. He said, "Oh, Rick Ross called me a fraud." He should have just said, "Well, like you said, listen, bro, I want to have a sit down, man to man talk. Now, if you want to get viewership,
That's
then
right.
you invite that man on your show and you say, how am I a fraud?" And y'all sit across from each other.
Great.
You know
That's
what
a
I'm
great
saying?
point. I agree
It.
with that.
I
I
think
agree with
that
that.
at this point, because Million Dollar Game is a big podcast. You know what I'm saying? Very big podcast. I'm not saying it's the biggest, but it's one of them. I think and this is why I say, I kind of throw Joe Buttons a lifeline on this one. Joe Buttons have changed. He's more politically correct now. He's very PC now. He don't really do uh, a lot of calling people out no more. Cause
Except when
he's
it comes to the music, though, because he
sometimes
trashes a lot of people.
he balances it out very well, because like with the new Drake album, he didn't like the new Drake album, but one of the dudes liked and the other one didn't. Like the two new co-hosts, the other two dudes, right? Which are actually, the show is actually much better now than with Maul and Roy. But anyway, I think that the difference between Joe and the difference between Gilly is Joe's not going to do a YouTube video. He's not going to do that. If he does address you, it's on his podcast. You know what I'm saying? He's not doing it like, oh, well, I'm going to do it. He's doing it to build his brand up, because Joe is about his brand. Mm-hmm. Not to say that Gilly isn't, but I think that this how I know it's personal, because he went on his personal page and did it. He didn't go on his
He did a personal video at Rick Ross, which is, there's blood going back.
Yeah, it's personal. It's personal. So
yeah,
I can't, either way I go, I'm gonna have to say they both wrong, because at this point, Gilly is defending himself, because if Gilly didn't say anything, I'm just gonna be honest, right? Gilly didn't say nothing, right? And Ross didn't say nothing. Gilly would have never said nothing to Ross. He would have never said anything. But the fact that Ross said he was a fraud, even though he's defending his man, said he was a fraud, that opened the can of worms for Gilly to come out. And now it's like, I could come out and play and do whatever I want now, because you started it. So you started it. So let me say what I want to say and how I really feel about you. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I'm waiting for this nigga to say something about me. Yeah. And he gave me that moment. Now, as far as him saying that the whole thing. I don't know if you want to talk about this right now, but the Meek Mill and the deal. I
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know that Meek Mill wanted out of MMG. I didn't know that.
Well, this is the whole story on that. So Meek Mill, um, I don't know the particulars about him signing at 19, but he's been signed to MMG for a while. The rumblings has been there for a while that he wanted out of MMG. Ross told him to finish the deal. Um, at the same time, uh, I think Meek just ended his Meek ended his 10-year run with Rock Nation Management, which kind of and people are saying that, and Meek said in that, my beef is not with Rock Nation Management. I need new management because my deal is I have a problem with Atlantic Records, which before, when he originally signed the deal, he was with Def Jam Records. They're not with Def Jam no more. They're with Atlantic, and he has a problem with Atlantic Records. But remember, there was rumblings that Meek Mill and Ross was beefing or whatever, and I see it's kind of he said she said because did Ross fuck Meek over or give him a shitty deal and all of that? I know one thing: Ross and them dudes was riding for Meek when he was in jail, and he did everything along with Jay-Z and everything, and to get him out of jail and out of that situation. Now, I don't know how bad the deal is or whatever, but I don't. I, this is kind of like touchy territory. I don't know that relationship to speak on how bad that is, but it's kind of like it is a little petty deal to go into that business of Meek versus Ross in that relationship. But I guess he's throwing it back because Ross is getting in the business of
Yeah,
baby and
yeah,
cash
yeah.
money and
He
all
did.
of
That's
that.
exactly why he doing
Like a
it.
tit for tat.
Yeah, yeah. My thing is like, I Meek Mill is very outspoken. I haven't seen him say anything negative about Ross ever.
Yeah,
So if I never seen him say anything negative about Ross, I can't side with Gilly on that. Because if that's the
yeah.
case, I think that Meek Mill would have said that. He said that about Wale. He said shit about Wale, and that was in their own team. He don't bite his tongue for nobody. He speaks how he feels. I think he's cool with where he's at with Ross. I think that maybe he said, I'm in this deal and you know what I mean I got still get paid. Maybe he told somebody else that. But I don't know if Meek Mill, because I don't even know if Meek Mill and Gilly is cool like that. I don't know if they are. They may be. I don't know.
He's
But
probably going off of something he heard off of hearsay,
he
and
has
I
to
think
be.
there's a little bit of embellishment on it going on here.
It has to be
I think,
because he talking about he's in a
yeah.
1919 slave deal. Harriet Tubman slave deal.
Now
What I
here's my
mean,
whole deal. I never heard like Meek was in a 360 deal. I never heard nothing like that where
yeah.
or he was in a standard 360 or whatever. But Meek never complained about the money. You know what I mean? He never really complained. Like I hear this is the first time I've really heard him complain about Atlantic Records. But I don't know. Maybe Gilly's just doing that to throw sauce and to have some kind of get back and some sauce back at him for talking about the Cash Money deal. For
But
that
Gilly,
situation.
but here's the thing, Gilly knows how this works. He knows how this works. It's not Ross is not in charge. He might have his label, but he signed Ross label is probably signed to a Big Brother label. So Meek is under that. You know how it goes with when it was Shady Aftermath. Shady
And
had to
here's my
answer to
thing,
him.
Ross did have issues over at Def Jam. That's why he moved to Atlantic. Ross had label issues, and he was vocal about it.
So when he say finish out the deal, when he's telling him to finish out the deal, he probably talking about Atlantic. Probably saying, listen, finish out the deal. And then we get to discuss that because my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. You know what I'm saying? I can't breach the contract that we signed. Like, that's how it goes. Because
Yeah.
I look at it like this. I never seen anybody, not one person. You can maybe people in the comments, or you could correct me on this. I never seen anybody talk bad about Rick Ross business deals ever.
And Rick Ross has done so much. Uh, He definitely is there to put dudes on. I
I
mean, he
never
put.
seen anybody say anything bad about him
I
business
mean, the
wise.
dude, like the dude. I don't. I think he's trash, but the dude gunplay. It, I mean, he takes care of him. Everybody on MMG for the most part was eating. Was
What's
eating
the other
good.
two dudes that,
Wale,
that he was in the group with? The other two dudes he was in the group with, triple C's.
Triple C's, yup, all of them
Yeah,
dudes. So
Styley. He had Styley.
to call out Ross on his business acumen and what Ross has done as an entrepreneur. I mean, with the Wingstop, all the businesses and all that, he could shit on Bel Air Rose, but Gilly, where's your business acumen at? What you
I
got a
think no.
podcast?
I think no. And here's why I say I'm gonna give. I thought Gilly said. I think he was. I think he was trolling on a lot of that. I think he probably was a little
But
bit
you
serious.
gotta be.
Man,
But
he was
here's
still
the
been
thing: the
trolling on
trolls
that.
gotta hit. They
Yeah,
can't just
yeah,
embellish on a troll.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
But I mean, but here's the whole thing. It got personal, so that's why he got to the petty stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It got petty personal, and it was a waste of time. But see, this is the thing. This is how I know, and we're finally gonna get to it. When he did the CO thing, and he went into the CO rant, that's when I was kind of like, all right, dude, seriously, you kind of, for lack of a better term, you had to go there, dude. Like, really, we're gonna go after all of these years. That's what we're gonna go to now. Not
Mm.
only that, Gilly did another troll of Rick Ross, and you know the picture of him as a CEO, and
Yeah,
say this is going to be the new podcast, Cops and something, and it had Rick Ross in it had the picture up there
yeah,
of him as the CEO and shit.
yeah,
After that, to kind of get, you know what I mean.
yeah.
But see, this is my whole question about that. That's when it went overboard, and that's when I'm like, this is petty corny now, cause this is my overall question. Let's get out of this situation. And I really want to have this honest discussion. Does the Rick Ross CO thing or CO situation matter in 2022 anymore? Or is it like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that, but so what? Like, what do you think about it?
No, absolutely not. I don't think that Rick Ross being a cop. I don't. Rick Ross could have been a cop. I don't think it really matters at this point because he did a versus, and everybody listen, bro. I know Gilly the Kid might feel some type of way about Ross, but people love Ross. I don't think I think Ross had one moment where maybe he had a little slip up where people felt like he was this a fraud for a little bit, but I don't think Ross ever fell off. I don't think he ever fell off. I think he's always been in the same positions he's been in since he came in the game. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's ever fell off. I don't think nobody ever said, yeah, Ross fell off. They might say he's okay or he's alright or that album is tough, but I don't think I ever seen anybody say he fell off. So that whole cop situation though, or the CEO thing, it don't really move people because nowadays people did way worse of shit in hip hop. It's artists that did way worse of shit than Rick Ross being a cop. like, like you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
come on.
all right. Well, let's do the rundown here. Like, and here's my whole thing. I just want to address this situation just to get the political correctness out of this.
Yeah,
My issue with him was always not that he was a CO, but in the interview phase, he lied about it and said he wasn't a CO. He
yeah,
tried to cover it up and bury it.
yeah,
And that's my biggest problem with Ross. Because now you question, all right, you want to hide who you really are. And you could have got out of that
yeah,
and said, yeah, I took a job as a CEO, but I just had to get paid or whatever. But I was dealing with a lot of dudes in the streets, and I helped. I did this or whatever. Now people could go ahead and judge him off of that, but at least you didn't lie and say like how you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
it would have smoothed over more. But the fact that he lied, that was it. Because it's like, all right, dude, we know you're not. So what are you really now? Are you the biggest drug dealer this side of Pablo Escobar, which he embellishes the shit out of it? But Jay-Z embellished, Nas embellished about their drug dealer status at one time too. So like that's my only issue with Ross. But I contend that it really don't matter today because people just care about the music. Like if you have a little moment where you have a low moment, you'll be down for a little bit. But if you come with hits and a consistent, the work, you're gonna be right back in the game. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And there are a couple reasons for that. Like, first of all, like today, that keep it real when you got to be street, you got to be real and really in the streets. You got to be a keep it real, a real one. That only translates really to 30 and 35 and over because that's our generation. That's what we grew up around. We grew up around that thug, the street era of hip hop, where you had to be real in the streets if you was a real MC like that. Today, these young niggas don't care. If you rap good or you make good music, all right, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the second reason, and this is the really the big reason is, and we have to look at ourselves like really at this, and it's the cancel culture era. So really, this is the thing. I think really the listeners have forgave Rick Ross because he's made great music and made good music. But let's be honest here. There's a guy that just got convicted and is a convicted child molester, and we still celebrate his music. Okay, I'm gonna say his name, R. Kelly. But we made a conscious decision. I'm not gonna say we, but for the most part, audiences they still listen to his music. Chris Brown just dropped the album. He beat the hell out of Rihanna. We forgave him. You know what I mean? Nobody even brings that up anymore. You know what I mean? And if you really want to get into it, and this is just my opinion, I think if you're really going to talk about it, being an informant or alleged informant is much more um, of of a black mark against you, more so than being a CEO or what have you, because in the end of the day, you're helping put a lot of dudes in jail, which could be true or untrue to save your own self. And there are a lot of rappers, Ti, hint hint, you know what I mean, where it's alleged, but it's like, bro, with all them guns, you had to snitch on somebody. You know what I mean? Even going back to the dude, 50, even going back to the dude coming at Ross, 50 Cent. I just read, I just saw this excellent documentary on the whole Supreme team and all of that. What's his name? Kenneth Supreme from Queens. Yo, and the real reason why 50 got shot is 50 was doing a street no. He was putting these niggas' names in songs that, yo, these niggas be in the streets like that. You don't do that shit. That's cold. And obviously, 50, we know the story about how he got shot, whatever. But that's a no, dog. You don't do that. And he did it in Ghetto Quran. So we overlook a lot about dudes if you make great music. So we're still gonna hang on to this whole thing um about Rick Ross being a CEO, like it's still like a charge against him.
Yeah, I don't agree with the whole ideology of that. I think that everybody who rails against cancel culture and all of a sudden now they for cancel culture. It's like I think we and maybe I could be wrong about this, but I'm starting to see that we're on a downward trajectory of cancel culture right now. It's starting not to be as relevant as it used to be. I think now people are starting to wake up and they're coming to their
That's a good
senses.
point.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, well, I'm not really like, you know what I mean? Because usually if someone said something like that about Rick Ross or any, oh, he used to be a cop, anybody would jump on that wave and be like, oh, but now I think we got to that point. It's like people starting to think for themselves a little more. You know what I'm saying? Um, as far as the whole CEO thing, I never had a problem with Rick Ross being a CEO or a cop, any working for the law. It didn't matter to me because I believe that rappers are entertainers anyway. For the most part, you really don't see a lot of rappers running around here shooting people, really doing what they're doing. I think they all embellish the stories that they come up with. I did have a problem with him lying about it, but I think that a man making an honest living, to me, I don't see how you can use that against him. The only way I can see
good point.
using it against him is if you're saying, "Oh, you a fraud," because you were saying that you were the biggest drug dealer, but yet and still you were a CEO. You wasn't no damn drug. You was a part of the cops. Now I will say this: if he says that, then he has to look at himself in the mirror because I'm sure that there's a lot of songs where he embellished a lot of shit and said things that he never did either. And he has to call out all rappers who do that because a good percentage of rappers. You remember Boss? She was a school teacher, and she was
Yeah, I
she
didn't
was a
know that. Yeah.
yes. What's the name? I think what's the name is a professor. What's his name? It's a bunch of them. They all have careers, and just it just so happened that they made a hit. You know what I'm saying? So 99% of rappers don't do what they say. A lot of them, like maybe Jay, maybe a couple of them. Nas even admitted in one of his songs, "I wasn't
He's
Pablo
out in the street.
Escobar. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't these people
That life
that I
wasn't
say
for
I
him.
was." Yeah,
Yeah.
like you get
That
what I'm
life
saying.
wasn't for him.
So
Yeah.
he got to understand when you say that somebody's this. Most of these rappers do make an honest living. They just don't. It's not cool to say because, be honest, just to be honest, if Rick Ross would have said, yeah, if he didn't lie about it and said, nah, I was a CEO, I was a cop, his career would have been over. It would have been done. At that time, it would have been
Mhm.
done. But I think him lying about it and then him just making music and going along with it, and then all of a sudden he said, yeah, and then he admitted it. I think it kind of like people kind of like, oh, we don't care. You just made a song
Well,
with
here's my
Mariah
whole
Carey. Who
thing. Like,
cares?
I think if his publicist, he could have got away with it telling the truth, but well, to a degree, his music would have suffered more
Yeah.
if he didn't play along with it. They tried to bury it, and that was the problem. They tried to cover it up, and that's really what it was. And it's wrong to lie. He was in a difficult situation. You know what I mean? And he kind of had to get the help of Diddy and Jay, and he had to get the right cosigns and support around him to bring that and bring revive that, and he got revived quick
Well, I
because
would say, but that's why I would say this. Even if he did have them to co-sign or whatever, the revive or whatever, but the thing about him is he continuously made hits. So the point that you was making before about people don't care if you making music, the same thing we just talked about R. Kelly. People don't care. If the
that's a good
music is
question.
good, they don't care what you did. You know
Another
what I'm
and
saying?
another one is Chris Brown. Another one, Chris Brown, right there.
There you go.
So it's like, yeah. So for him, for Gilly really to bring that up, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, dog, that's where you're going. It's like now it's like, all right, you're reaching hard deep in that bag, and you could just tell it was personal to him, man.
Yeah,
Badly personal.
yeah. I
Which
think
made
it.
me think, which made me think in my head, in the end of the day, dog, he got under your skin a lot more than you got under his, buddy.
No, I think that at this point, Gilly is obligated to being who he is for the rest of his life when it comes to his fan base and him, because this is not the only person he did this to. He did this to a
Yeah,
couple
that's
other
true.
people. So I think at this point he's obligated to do that because in his head that's he's keeping it real, and for some people they feel like that. They feel like what he's saying should be said. You know what I'm saying? But for me, some things he said I can agree with, but it's just like I think they both disrespected each other on both sides, and you did bring up when he said about his wife. I think Rick Ross, that's way over the line. You don't talk about nobody's wife. Oh, I spend
Yeah,
more
yeah.
money on my cows than your wife. So you saying his wife is lower than a cow? Like, come on, bro.
Yeah,
Like, that's too
yeah.
much, bro. Don't do that. Nah, I don't think that you should be disrespecting that man's wife like that. And that could be one of the major reasons. That could be another reason why he went off. Because okay, how you know what I spent on my wife? Who told you that? You know what I'm saying? Like, so obviously somebody said, "Nah, this nigga don't do shit for his wife." Somebody had to say that because you said that out of nowhere. I spend more money on my cows
That
than
got
your
under his
wife.
skin, true.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that this has to be this is something behind the scenes going on, maybe, because like you said, that whole what's the name thing, whatever. But I would love to see Betty, yeah, I would love to see if this would ever happen, but I would love to see Lil Wayne go on $1 Million Game. I would love to see that. I would love to see them talk about their beef and what happened between them two. The Ross thing, whatever, but Wayne and him, to me, that's the underlying issue. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see that.
But I don't know. Well, I don't know if Gilly would be up for that. I don't know if Wayne
He
would
would
be
be up for anything. That's one thing about him. He would be up for anything.
okay.
He talked to who did he talk to that he didn't? He talked to one of them young boys he didn't like. Oh, he talked to DJ Academics.
Oh, I
Talked to
didn't know
DJ
they had a
Academics.
beef. They
Yeah,
had a beef.
yeah.
Okay.
He did a whole podcast with him. And you know what,
Because I
bro? I'm
thought
gonna say this
didn't.
about y'all. It's one thing I'm gonna say this, bro. I like Academics a lot now, bro. I really do. I watched a couple of his podcasts, bro. He's very rational, man. He makes a lot of good points on a lot of stuff now. Now I think about it. Before I was just
I
hating on
told you. I told you I saw him in the strip club. Remember that story?
him.
And as much as I
Yeah.
hated you, I was like, keep doing your thing on your podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
But to come back to that, I think now here's my thing. He does make points on his podcast, but my only thing is with the whole record sales thing, and that's the only
Yeah.
thing I don't agree
Yeah.
with, because you just moving with whatever the mainstream is moving with,
Yeah.
and for him to say, "Oh, you're not a top tier artist because you don't sell 200,000 in a week or whatever," nah,
Yeah.
I'm not with all of that.
Yeah.
But his podcast on some other issues, you know what I mean, it is good.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when he brings on like Fresh and Fit and Brittany
Yeah.
Renner and all of that other
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah. I like his podcast. But yeah, man. But like I said, man, I think they both was wrong. I think they should have handled this a little bit
I
differently.
agree.
At this point
It,
in their careers, it should have been, how can we
this
make
is my
money out
thing,
of this?
right? This is my thing. Like, when I see dudes, and it kind of goes back to like even the situations with like Freddie Gibbs and Jim Jones and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
If you're two guys that are 40 and over, and you're over 40, y'all gotta handle shit like bosses, yo. You can't be acting out on the internet like this. This is not a good look for the culture. It's not a good look for us, because, like, really, we're supposed to be bosses at this time. And once you're over the age of 40, you're a fully grown man. You're fully grown. You have wisdom. You know how to handle situations. This was just immature to me and a waste of time. It really
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
needed.
I think if kind of like how Flex did it when he said, "Listen, I'll give you a beat and I'll give you a week, and you can come on the show." I think
That's
that
funny.
if he said, "Listen, If I'm a fraud, let's do my podcast together and let's talk about it, and we could make money off of it. You know what I'm saying? And we could walk
That's a
away,
good
agree
point.
to disagree. We could walk away from this whole thing, and you could call me a fraud or whatever. But let's do it that way. I think that
I
a
want
lot
to
of
find out. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like, listen, I want you. Look, we got to talk like men. How
yeah.
am I a fraud? I
And
want to
Ross
know.
would do it. Ross did a sit down with Joe Buttons. He would do it. He did a whole podcast with Joe Buttons. So he'll
Yeah,
do it. He ain't got no
that's
problem
the
doing
real
it.
way to do things, man. I totally agree with that. So anyway, we ran kind of long with this one, but check this one out. Shadow Code Radio. We're gonna upload this on our YouTube channel, Shadow Code Radio. Please, guys, we got to start getting subs, man. Like, share, subscribe if you like it. Just give us a sub, man. We're gonna have more content coming every week. Um, also let us know other things you want us to talk about. And more album reviews. I know some albums dropped this week. Some big albums is coming up. We got that Game album coming up. We're gonna have a lot to say about that album. That's coming
Yeah,
up in August.
yeah.
So anyway, do that and check us out. We're gonna upload this tomorrow. So check us out and y'all have a good night. All right, peace.
Peace.